So, Rajdeep, I think that, we shouldn't get all flustered over here. Let's keep in mind that the vaccines still work. When it comes to severe disease, when it comes to hospitalizations and deaths, the vaccines work against all the variants we know so far. So yes, cases have gone up, and you saw that go up really sharply in the UK, despite having close to 70% get one dose. You've seen cases go up by a lot, and of course they're coming down. They're actually coming down fairly rapidly now in the UK. But if you look at hospitalizations, they went up some, but not much. So that's a good, if we can get that in all parts of the world, that is a good place to be. So again, getting in the US, it's only about 50% of the population that's fully vaccinated. So there's a big chunk that's unvaccinated, and you're going to see cases going up. But given that the high-risk population, the adult populations have been vaccinated, at least in terms of hospitalizations and deaths, we are not seeing the same pattern. So it's not the same cycle repeating itself every single time. This time we're seeing waves, but we're not seeing big increases in hospitalizations, again, in parts of the world where there's sufficient vaccine coverage. So I think there is a hope of getting out of this tunnel, but we really have to get to widespread vaccinations. Otherwise, there can be some new variant, and we will be having a completely different conversation next time around.
As we come to the end of this, I just want to come back to where we started. There is a belief that the IMF is talking up the Indian economy when the reality is very different. I meet people on the ground who say, look at how we are suffering. Jobs are down, incomes are down. We are having to close down small businesses. And you tell us, as the IMF did in April, that we are going to get into double-digit growth. There is this alternate reality being created. The reality on the ground is different. What will you tell them? That, is there a huge mismatch between the reality and the hope?
I'll make a couple of points, Rajdeep. Firstly, I think when people read the numbers, they really do have to put it in the context of a very deep recession last year, a historically deep recession in India. So when you add the numbers together, when you kind of look at what's happened cumulatively over 2 years, I would say that, there is some recovery, but there is a long way to go. So it's not incongruous that on one hand, you have a lot of people who think that they've been very hard hit and the numbers, because there is indeed, like I said, a huge gap between where India should have been in the absence of the pandemic and where it is now. So please, keep that in context. And a lot more needs to be done in terms of policies and in terms of addressing the weaknesses in the different sectors. The second part I would point out is the fact that, yes, there are some things that don't show up in the GDP numbers. For instance, the informal sector, just much harder to measure, and they are getting harder hit. There's extreme poverty. There's distributional consequences. I mean, the stock market is booming, but then there are MSMEs that are in very bad shape. So there are all these distributional aspects that also need to be taken into account when you want to get a full picture of how the economy is doing. So, those would be the 2 points I'd make.
In 1 minute, if I were to ask you 1, 2, 3, the 3 things that you want to see India do right away?
I would say first, provide additional support to low-income households. Second, would be to, is some more spending on the health sector and also for MSMEs. And I think it's very important for India to set out, and on education, I'm sorry, I missed that. And then I think it's very important for India to credibly communicate a medium-term fiscal consolidation strategy, which is one implement now. But it's a good signaling device of how they will get to lower levels of deficit. And that combination will help propel a stronger recovery.
Okay, final question, Dr. Gopinath. I'm going to record this 3 months from now when you come up with your next sort of outlook. Are you more optimistic than you are today? Or do you believe that there could still be those X factors? I repeat, the third wave, a slowing down of vaccinations or non-availability of vaccinations to certain parts of the world, including India. Are those worries, or do you believe the worst is over?
I think we're still in the period of uncertain events. There are some parts of the world where, given the amount of vaccination they have, I would say that the worst is behind, and we're in a better place. Again, as long as you do what needs to be done, we know that vaccinations work. We need to get many more shots in arm, and if we can do that in the next 6 months, then we are in a far more durable recovery, and we can put this behind us. But unfortunately, I don't control all the levers over here, so I just don't know where this will go.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. I think you are putting in enough safeguards this time and caveats And I think that is important in the times in which we live. These are uncertain, extraordinary times. But I appreciate, Dr. Gopinath, the effort that you and the IMF are putting to give us this economic outlook, because it at least gives us a sense of where we stand at the